Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here. I'm Whitney Ward. A quadruple murderer will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Major John Kaylor killed his 4 neighbors, including 2 teenagers, last June. A judge handed down that sentence less than 2 hours ago.
KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez was in the courtroom in Wallace, Idaho today as the victims left behind told the judge why he should never be released. Nicole?
Mark, Whitney. So the courtroom here in Wallace was just packed full this afternoon. We heard from not only the judge and prosecutors and defense, but we also heard from 9 different family members.
King Murray, 65 years old, a father protecting his daughter and grandchildren until death. Kindling Harvey, 41 years old, a strong, independent, fierce, loving, happy, and brave mother that did anything and everything for her children. She emulated a great mother and gave her life to protect her children. Devin Smith, 18 years old, a young man that just graduated high school and had a full life to live. Aiken Smith, 16 years old, a young man that just started driving and had a full life to live and was dedicated to the community and even our country.
Those are the 4 people Major John Kaylor killed on June 18th after he says one of them was inappropriate in front of his daughter. Now he is spending the rest of his life in prison. That is what the victim's family had asked the judge for.
He killed an entire branch of our family tree. Nothing left, no other brothers, no sisters. Never any great-grandchildren to watch grow up.
After hearing from almost 10 family members, the prosecution suggested the judge give Kaylor 50 years to life for each charge. But the defense asked the court to consider Kaylor's history and give him the option of parole.
Neglect, physical abuse, mental abuse, poverty, instability, lack of housing, lack of clothing, lack of education.
The defense said despite all that, Kaylor did not have a history of drug abuse or violence. Kaylor himself decided not to say anything before the sentencing. So before making the decision, the judge said that she went through all of the facts of the case, of course, and she also looked to other cases for context. She said while doing that, most of those other cases were about 1 murder, not 4. So she said context there is that we just don't see crimes this big in Idaho very often. In Wallace, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Nicole, thank you. And tonight, a small town in Latah County is remembering one of their own. 83-year-old James Mooney went missing last Wednesday while he was out walking with his dogs in Julietta.
He is one of the suspected victims of 2 men accused of leading police on a multi-state manhunt after one escaped after a shooting at a hospital in Boise. Those suspects made their first court appearance today. KREM 2's Cody Proctor has been speaking with community members about the impact that he's had. Cody?
Well, Mark and Whitney, James Mooney's been a part of the Julietta community for years, being part of the outdoor community by both hunting and fishing with many of the people around here. Now, inside the Blackberry Brew and Pub in the middle of town, there is a table full of items in remembrance of Mooney, including a book he wrote about hunting and fishing with his dogs. They're also raising money for his wife at the restaurant. The couple frequently visited the facility. According to officials, Mooney went missing last week.
All right. We apologize, having some issues there with Cody's live shot. We hope to get back to that at a later time in our show. In the meantime, we'll move on. In other top stories tonight, Spokane Public Schools has appointed a new music teacher for Wilson Elementary after a controversial newsletter was sent to families. Earlier this month, SPS launched an investigation into the newsletter that featured racist comments, with one section suggesting that students dress up as slaves. Wilson Elementary's principal said the content was written by an individual employee. She also said the content in that newsletter was unacceptable and did not align with the school's values.
And now to a traffic alert. Today, the Thor Freya project begins and detours will be in place. The plan is to rebuild the 2 intersections at Thor and 2nd Avenue, along with the Freya and 2nd Avenue intersection. Westbound I-90 exit 283B, the Thor Freya off-ramp will also be closed. So westbound drivers have 3 rerouting options. You can either use exit 286 at Broadway, then you can go to exit 285 at Sprague, or 283A at Altamont. Westbound 2nd Avenue will be closed between Thor Street and Freya. Those detours are expected to be in place for roughly 10 weeks. The project will focus on making surface improvements to that stretch of road and will also install new storm, sewer, and water systems.
The city of Spokane has secured new funding to clear and clean up more homeless encampments.
The city also reached an agreement with WashDOT and the Department of Commerce to designate the Division and Brown Street corridor from Sprague to I-90 as an encampment zone. That includes 2nd and Division, where SPD has increased patrols in the area since September. In total, the city will receive about $4 million in funding through the state's right-of-way initiative.
And this morning, the city has been working to clean up litter and graffiti in the zone, as well as trying to connect homeless people with resources. Meantime, Mayor Lisa Brown says city staff will start removing the fencing under the Brown Street viaduct.
And Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown is putting $11 million into the city's Health and Human Services Fund. More than $9 million of that will use federal American Rescue Plan funds.
That money will also be used for opioid addiction treatment programs and to expand access to broadband internet. All right, let's take a break from the headlines to talk weather. The cooler temperatures and wet weather from over the weekend continued into today, with more expected this week.
A little bit of sunshine out there right now, though. That's kind of nice. Let's head over to our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo.
Well, when it comes to those temperatures, they've really benefited from all that sunshine that Mark and Whitney were noting. And that sunshine is going to take us into the evening, but you don't have to look far to find showers. Look at the base of Mount Spokane. A little bit of rain coming down. We got all the way up to near 50. That was the forecast high for today, and through the first half of the day, you're probably going, when are we going to do it? Basically, we've got this sunshine to get our temperatures to soar. Our average temperatures this time of year are averaging out the cooler days and the warmer days. So we find ourselves in the middle. That being said, when you get a little bit of sunshine, those temperatures jump almost instantly. And although we have the sunshine, we still have some scattered showers. Those still popping up from time to time and place to place. A little bit of activity out in central Washington, a little bit of activity out in the Palouse. And you saw Cody there over in Idaho getting a little bit of rain. And that is going to continue. Tapers off tonight, and it's all about finding a break in the clouds overnight. I think a few of them exist, and you might get lucky and be able to see the aurora. But the big story here is what's going to happen later this week. First, we get a round of widespread rain moving in Wednesday afternoon, and then a huge bump in temperatures in time for the weekend. We'll talk that in the full forecast, but for now, here's what you need to know. Tomorrow and today look almost identical. Wednesday, we see rain move in later in the day, and Thursday, it's almost a wash as we've got more moisture in the forecast.
All right.